Hey there, it's time to start using what you've learned to create your own mockup in Adobe XD. I'll go through steps to create a mockup for my library website homepage based on the wireframes I created early in the course. Here we go. First, I'll open Adobe XD and select the artboard that has the wireframe of the library website homepage on it. It's always a good idea to have the wireframes in front of you as you create mockups. Because my wireframes are all neatly lined up, I'm going to create a new artboard below the wireframe that I'll be using for reference, which is the homepage in this case. So I'll pop over to the toolbar and we'll pick the artboard tool and add a Web 1920 artboard directly below the homepage wireframe. This makes it a little easier to refer to the wireframe when I'm making the mock. Now I'll move this second artboard below the first one so it's easy for me to track the flow of my work. I personally prefer to work from the top of the page down, but you can design your pages in any order you like. So let's start with the navigation bar. I'll draw a rectangle for the background. I'll set the background color of the navigation bar to black by clicking the Fill option under Appearance in the Property Inspector. Next, I'll add the logo to the far left side of the navigation bar. Here's a quick pro tip. Adobe XD lets you add images really easily by creating a rectangle first and then dropping the image inside of it. For my mockup, I don't need to drop in an image though, as my logo is just simple text. I'm going to create a text box and type in WCL, which stands for Wisconsin County Library. Next, I'll change the font to Belly Display and make the size 48. Finally, I'll adjust the color to a mustard yellow using hex code E0D15C. Using hex codes instead of randomly picking a color allows me to make sure that I'm using the same color throughout my mockup. Okay, so I have the logo in the navigation bar. Let me keep building this part of the page out. I need to add more text into the nav bar for the links to other pages. Similar to my wireframes, I'll add text boxes for Search, Discover, Donate, and About to the left side of the nav bar next to the logo. Then I'll add text boxes for Account and Basket to the right side of the nav bar. Now I need to change the look and feel of all this text in the navigation bar. I'll click the text boxes while holding the Shift key until all 6 text boxes are selected. The good news is that the background color for these text boxes is already transparent, so I don't need to change that. But I do need to change a few other things using the Property Inspector here. I'll change the font to Avenir and I'll make the size 20. I also want this to be heavy to add a bit of emphasis. Finally, I'll change the color of this text to white so that it stands out against my black navigation bar. Next, I need to make sure that the text boxes are aligned and evenly spaced using the alignment tools in the Property Inspector. First, I'll select the text boxes by dragging a selection over them or using Shift and click. Then I'll align them all to horizontal center by clicking this button. I'll also put even spacing between all of these text boxes by clicking the horizontal distribute button. I'm going to be using the same font, color, and size throughout my mockup, so I want to save these preferences in the Assets panel, which is a collection of the elements and preferences you've created in your design. The Assets panel serves as your sticker sheet. This makes it really easy to share your elements and components with fellow designers. I recommend saving your preferences when you finish each stage of your design, or when you create new elements. This will make the design process faster and more consistent as you move forward. To open the Assets panel, I'll go to the bottom of the toolbar on the left side of the screen and click on this Libraries icon. A panel opens that allows me to either search libraries of assets I've imported or look at the assets for the design that I'm working on, which is called Document Assets. Right now, it's blank because I'm just starting my mockup. I'll start by saving some of the colors I use in the navigation bar. First, let me focus on the logo. Adobe XD makes it really easy. I'll select the text box of the logo and press the plus sign next to the word Colors in the Assets panel. And ta-da! Just like that, the mustard yellow color from my logo has been added to my preferences. Cool, right? I want to follow this same process to add the other colors I've used in my navigation bar too, like the black and white. There we go, simple as that. Now I can use these same colors throughout the rest of my mockup. Next, I want to save the character styles. which will allow me to easily use the same font, size, and color for additional text. This is great for creating consistent headings throughout your mockup. For example, I'll select the logo text. I'll click the plus icon in the character styles header, and that's it. I'll do the same thing for the links to the other pages of the library website. I don't need to save each one of these as they're all the same style. I only need to click one of them, like search, and click the plus sign again. Great. Now I have some preferences saved in my assets panel that I continue to use throughout my design. You may notice that there's one other part of the document assets panel, which is components. As a reminder, components are made up of elements. Common components are buttons, which include elements like text, color, and a shape. In this case, my component will be the navigation bar I just created. To create a component, I need to group items together. I'll select the navigation bar background plus all the text and the logo, and then hit Command and G on a Mac or Control and G on a PC. You can also right-click and pick Group if that's easier for you. That's it. Now these elements of my navigation bar are grouped together and form a component. I'll add this component to the Assets panel by clicking the plus sign next to the word Components. This will allow me to quickly reuse this exact same navigation bar on future artboards. In other words, I can easily include the same nav bar at the top of other pages of the website. All I have to do is click on this component and drag it onto the new artboard like this. One cool thing I want to show you, if I edit a master component, all instances of that component will change instantly across my mockup. For example, if I add a new link to the navigation bar, the nav bar on all pages will automatically be updated, which saves a ton of time. I'll right-click on the Assets panel and click on Edit Main Component. Now, the main version of the navigation bar component is selected. Let's say I make a change. Notice how this change is updated for all the navigation bars across artboards? Pretty sweet. Anyway, I'll undo this change for now, but I wanted to show you this cool tip. Woohoo! The navigation bar is ready to go. Now I'll move on to the next layer of the homepage below the navigation bar, which includes a hero image of the featured author and accompanying text. First, I'll draw a rectangle. Then I'll open Finder on a Mac or Windows Explorer on a PC and find the image I want. And now, if I drag this onto the rectangle, the image will fill the rectangle. Bam! How neat is that? Okay, now I've included a hero image in my mockup, it's time to add some text to describe this image. I'll draw another rectangle to the right of the image where the text will go. I'll fill the rectangle with this dark purple color, which is hex code 382862. I'll also add the dark purple color to the Assets panel because I'm probably going to need to use it again. I'll go to Color on the Assets panel and click on the plus icon. Now let me show you another awesome feature in Adobe XD, stacks. Stacks allow you to move or resize an element from a stack, and the rest of the elements will automatically move to preserve the defined spacing between elements. So let's check this out in action. I'll create 3 text boxes and stack them on top of one another. I'll type featured author into the top text box, a short headline into the middle, and some body text using lorem ipsum in the bottom text box. I'll select the 3 text boxes and group them together by pressing Ctrl or Command plus G. Then I'll name the group Featured Author in the Layers panel. Now I'll go to the Layout section in the middle of the Property Inspector. I need to check to make sure that Responsive Resize is on. I'll click the checkbox next to Stack and make sure the vertical stack button is selected. That's the icon with the arrow that points downwards. To the right of these icons is a number or a line, which represents the spacing between all the text boxes in the stack. If you see a number, that's because you have consistent spacing between all the items. If you see a line, it's because there are different spacing between the different text boxes. I want this to be consistent, so I'm going to set it to 24. If I wanted the spacing to be larger, I could type 34, for example, and the spacing automatically changes. This will help me save time as I design. But for now, I'll leave the spacing as 24. Alright, I've just finished designing everything above the fold on the library website homepage. Let's take a brief pause so you can open XD and start playing around with your own mockups. When you're ready, meet me in the next video, where I'll continue to design the rest of my mockup of the library website homepage. More pro tips to come.